السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض وجعل الظلمات والنور ثم الذين كفروا بربهم يعدلون وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله بشر وأنذر لا خير إلا دل الأمة عليه ولا شر إلا حذرها منه فصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهداه إلى يوم الدين. نسأل الله جل وعلا أن يبصرنا بالحق وأن يمن علينا بالالتزام به والثبات عليه حتى يتوفانا وهو راض عنا. اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا وقلبا خاشعا وعملا متقبلا. اللهم اجعل تجمعنا هذا تجمعا مرحوما وتفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما ولا تجعل فينا شقيا ولا محروما. اللهم آمين. All praise is due to Allah. We praise Him, we worship Him, we seek His assistance, and we seek His tawfiq, subhanahu, to teach us that which is beneficial to us. And we pray to Him to give us the tawfiq to apply it. فَإِنَّهُ مَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِهِ خَيْرًا يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ. اللهم فقهنا في الدين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. Tonight is the night of the 10th of Rajab of the year 1440 since Hijrat al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which translates into March the 16th of the Gregorian calendar 2019. I pray to Allah Azza wa Jal to make this night a blessed night and to make all the brothers and sisters who are physically with us in this masjid or who might be tuning in live, I pray to Allah Azza wa Jal to make them mubarakeen, blessed in themselves and in their families. I pray to Allah Azza wa Jal to bless this majlis al-ilm, this majlis al-dhikr of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, where we try to remember together some of what Allah Azza wa Jal has ordered us to say and to believe and to do. And this is a majlis that is surrounded, majlis al-ilm is a majlis that is surrounded by the angels of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, and witnessed by them, showered by His mercy, by the mercy of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always give us the tawfiq to sit around these majalis al-ilm. And this majlis is the 87th majlis. It is the 87th majlis of this commentary on this great text of Aqidah called Aqidah At-Tahawiyyah. And I know the time is very short between Maghrib and Isha now, but as you know, we meet year-round after Maghrib, between Maghrib and Isha. I just wanted to take a moment to remind myself and yourself of our our brothers and sisters who were killed unjustly in New Zealand. They were murdered mercilessly. I pray to Allah Azza wa Jal to accept them, to forgive them. Allahumma afihim wa'fu anhum. And I pray to Allah Azza wa Jal to give patience to their families. And I pray to Allah Azza wa Jal to protect and preserve every Muslim anywhere in the world. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect this ummah and protect the Muslimin and the Muslimat in their lives and in their properties and in their honor. Allahumma ameen. Without further ado, we continue our commentary. And like I said, this is the text of Aqidah titled Aqidah At-Tahawiyyah by its author, Imam al-Musannif, Imam Abu Ja'far At-Tahawi al-Hanafi. May Allah have mercy on him. As you know, we spent a couple of weeks on these few statements, starting with statement 157. Tonight, inshallah, there is only a few commentary that is left on the remaining statements. Obviously, we spent a lot of time on explaining this, and that it is madhab Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, that they do not believe in rebelling against the Muslim leaders, no matter how just or unjust they are, or they may be. It is impermissible. And there is a consensus, ijma' al-ummah, ijma' ulama al-ummah. And like I said, you can look in any of their texts of Aqidah, in any of their books of Aqidah. There is absolutely no difference. It's not a matter of difference of opinion. There is an absolute consensus, ijma' among the scholars, that rebelling against the Muslim leader is a sin. As a matter of fact, it is a major sin, kabira min al-kaba'ir, that Allah Azza wa Jal punishes for, and it is an innovation in the deen. Innovation because it is changing in the deen, right? This is not what we were preached, this is not what we were guided to, and those who see rebelling, the permissibility of rebelling against a Muslim leader, they're changing the deen. And innovation and bid'ah is nothing but changing the deen, or introducing into it that which is not part of it. Changing something or introducing into it and adding to it that which is not part of it. So it is an innovation in the deen. And we've given a lot of evidences, we've given a lot of stories from Imam Ahmad, from Miswar ibn Makhrama radiyallahu anhu, one of the Sahaba, his story with Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. And we've benefited from all of these stories. And we've also said that as long as the sinning or the injustice or the oppression of the Muslim leader does not reach the level of crystal clear kufr, disbelief in Allah Azza wa Jal, anything as long as it is lesser than that, even if the Muslim leader is oppressing, even if he is stealing, even if he is committing major sins, even if he's treating you unjustly, right, oppressing you, we still do not rebel, nor do we revolt, nor do we try to overthrow the Muslim leader in any way, shape, or form, nor do we believe in the permissibility to do so, because we see that this is a greater evil. And obeying the Muslim leader is an obedience to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Again, it's not an unconditional obedience. That's very important to understand. It is not an unconditional obedience. It is a conditional obedience, meaning that we obey them as long as they order us to obey Allah Azza wa Jal and His Messenger alayhi salatu wassalam. Should they order us to disobey them, then we disobey them in that particular thing. But we don't take it as an excuse to actually rebel against them. You obey them elsewhere, but you don't obey them in that disobedience of Allah Azza wa Jal, because there is no obedience to anyone when it is a disobedience to Allah Azza wa Jal and His Messenger alayhi salatu wassalam. So there's no excuse. And being the fact that a Muslim leader is unjust or oppressor or sinning, even major sins, is not an excuse to rebel against him. Because rebelling against him will only lead to something that is greater harm. And obeying him, even if he is an oppressor, is from actually picking the lesser of the two evils. The lesser of the two evils. And this is one of the principles of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. They take the lesser evil to push back against the greater evil, which is worse. So this is Aqidah Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, is to listen and obey to the Muslim leader and not to break the pledge of allegiance to him that we were ordered to do. It is all from Madhab Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. And we've seen that the Imam Abu Ja'far in the statement number 158 that is showing on the screen, he said, وَإِنْ جَارُوا, even if they are oppressor. وَإِنْ جَارُوا, even if they are oppressor. For being an oppressor is not an excuse to rebel against the Muslim leader. Then he said in the statement number 159, he said, وَلَا نَدْعُوا عَلَيْهِمْ, and we do not make supplication against them. Actually, what we're going to do in here is this statement, number 159. You see the statement number 159, brothers? وَلَا نَدْعُوا عَلَيْهِمْ. We're going to actually comment on it along with statement number 162. So we're going to take 162 and 158 together because they are closely related. So we do not supplicate against them. What do we do then? نَدْعُوا لَهُمْ. لا ندعو عليهم ندعو لهم وندعو لهم بالصلاح والمعافاة, and we make supplication for them that they be rectified and kept secure. So these are definitely, obviously, closely related two statements, so we're going to take them together. This is what I cannot understand, brothers and sisters. I can't get my head around to understand this. Those who are with the opinion, which is wrong opinion, obviously, but those who see the permissibility of rebelling against the Muslim leader if they are unjust or oppressive, you will never ever see them making dua to him for his righteousness. They always make dua against them. May Allah take them, may Allah destroy them, may Allah this, and that. They never ever make dua for them. They only see the bad, but they never see the good. Right? They have like these lenses that filter. They only make them see the bad. He did this, and look what he did, and he did this, and he did that. Their lenses just filters out the good. They don't see it. So there's no praise. They don't remember the good. They don't remember to make dua for him. I said I can't understand this. If you're really sincere that you have the concern of the ummah, right? You're concerned that the leader is not a straightforward leader. He's not a just and straight leader. But I don't understand this. So what's wrong in making dua for him? Tell me, somebody tells me, what is wrong in making dua to him? In raising your hand toward Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala and saying, Allahumma aslih a'immatana wa ulata umurina. Allahumma aafihim. Allahumma waffiqhum lil khayr. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Subhanallah. Isn't it better if they become righteous? Isn't their righteousness will be reflected in the righteousness of the whole nation? Why would you refrain from making dua for them? For their salah, for their mu'afah, that Allah Azza wa Jal may give them tawfiq, yuwaffiquhum lil khayr. What's wrong in that? They never do that. So that tells you something. That tells you that they're not really sincere in actually wanting that the leader be a righteous leader. Right? There are some other agendas. So we say, لا ندعو عليهم. He said, we do not make supplication against them. Why? Because ibad Allah, think about it. Any person who supplicates against them, this is a spiritual rebelling. This is a spiritual rebelling and revolting against them. Why? Because the person who's making dua against them, he's only doing that because he, in the first place, to begin with, he doesn't see them as legitimate leaders. Otherwise, why would you make dua against them? Why would you supplicate against them unless you really see them as illegitimate leaders? So making dua against them is actually a spiritual revolting and rebelling, and it has the same hukum as the physical rebelling, which Imam Abu Ja'far said, we do not hold rebelling against our leaders, whether physical or whether spiritual, or whether in terms of belief. You believe that it is permissible, even if you don't go against them. Just believing that it is permissible is wrong and is against is against the principle of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. So we do not make supplication against them because this is actually the start, the beginning of the road. This is actually a spiritual rebellion against them. But what is wajib, what is the duty of every Muslim is to make dua for them, that Allah Azza wa Jal guide them, that Allah Azza wa Jal give them tawfiq and make them righteous, not to actually supplicate against them. And this is from Usul Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. And I want to actually point out a rule here, a general rule of thumb, as they say. This is by which you can tell who is really, truly following Sunnah and who is not. And you will see that this is not this rule that I'm going to mention now, that I'm going to actually establish. It's not from me. I didn't come up with it. You're going to see later in a moment here that this is actually from the scholars of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. Brothers and sisters, if you ever see a person who makes dua against the leader, supplicate against them, then know that this person is a deviant person. And if you see somebody who makes a supplication for the leader, then you know this is a person on the Sunnah. No question about it. No question about it. If you see somebody making supplication against the leader, say that you have a deviancy or you are deviant in your Aqidah. You're not following Ahl Sunnah. No question about it. And if you see somebody, no matter how oppressive and unjust the Muslim leader is, if you see somebody making dua for them, for their guidance and for their righteousness, then know that this person is on the Sunnah. Bi-idhnillahi tabaraka wa ta'ala. And this is manhaj of our righteous predecessors, starting with the Sahaba and the Tabi'in and At-Tahawiyyah. If you say you're angry because of what they're doing, you're concerned about what you're doing, this is not the place. You're misplacing your anger. Your anger should not be here, but rather make dua for them so that Allah Azza wa Jal changes the situation. And if you see somebody who says, this khatib on the mimbar making dua for the leader, he is a puppet in their hands, then also know that this person is a deviant person. This is the amal, the practice of all khutaba Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah across history, that they always made dua for the leader, for their salah, for their guidance from the mimbar. They are not puppet. On the contrary, this is al-wajib. This is what we are supposed to do. Making dua against the leader, supplicating against the leader, is from the characteristics of Ahl al-Khuruj. You know, al-Khawarij, and those who are affiliated with them, or who are affected by their ideology. Their characteristics is that they actually supplicate against the Muslim leader, and they see that it is permissible to go violently and overthrow them and take them out. This is from the characteristics of Ahl al-Khawarij, Ahl al-Khuruj. And he said, وَلَا نَرَى الْخُرُوج. So these are the people of al-Khuruj, but we do not see rebellion. We do not see al-Khuruj against the Muslim leader. So one of the characteristics of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah is they make dua for the Muslim leader to be guided, to be righteous. And also, if you notice that those who make dua against the Muslim leader, and they do it publicly, in effect what they're trying to do is they're trying to change people's hearts against the Muslim leader. Because when you keep talking against them, you keep criticizing them publicly and openly, and people are hearing you, right? And you make dua against them. What are you trying to do? The people's heart will start hating these leaders. And this is the beginning of al-Khuruj. This is the beginning of the Khuruj, right? Some people may be rebelling in their hearts against the Muslim leader. And Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, like I said, as they see al-Khuruj, the actual rebelling against the Muslim leader, as impermissible, likewise any means that lead to it. The means that lead to it, the ruling on the goals also is a ruling on the means that get you there. Al-Khuruj is impermissible. Then how about actually the means that actually lead to it? Take the same ruling. It is also impermissible. And that is why it is impermissible to make dua or criticize them openly, because it will only lead to people to start rebelling against them. If we do not supplicate against them, what are we supposed to remain silent? No. We supplicate for them. Like he said, Imam Abu Ja'far, like he said in statement number 162, نَدْعُ لَهُمْ لَا نَدْعُ عَلَيْهِمْ. We do not supplicate against them. But that doesn't mean we remain silent. We actually supplicate for them. وَنَدْعُ لَهُمْ بِالصَّلَاحِ وَالْمُعَافَةِ. We pray to Allah Azza wa Jal to make them صالحين. This is ندعو لهم بالصلاح. يعني, oh Allah, make them صالحين. اللهم أصلح. يعني, make them صالحين. أصلح أئمتنا وولاة أمورنا. The Muslim leaders. And we pray for them for the mu'afa, which is to actually be rectified, meaning that Allah Azza wa Jal give them the tawfiq and يعني, make them free from this deviation and from this evil and wrongdoing that they are doing against what Allah Azza wa Jal ordered. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them the tawfiq to free them from this oppression so that they go back to Allah Azza wa Jal and what He ordered them to do with respect to their population. And this is what we want, isn't it? So this is the haqq to actually to supplicate for them, for their righteousness and to be guided. And if you think about it, supplicating for them, brothers and sisters, think about it. When you supplicate for them, in reality, you're supplicating for who? For the Muslim. When you supplicate for the guidance of the Muslim leader, you're in reality, you're supplicating for your Muslim brothers and sisters, because the righteousness of the leader is a righteousness for the population. So it's not that you're actually making dua for the person who is in charge. But in reality, you're making dua to your brothers and sisters, to the people of your country and of your nation, that because the salah of the leader is a salah for the ummah in its entirety. And I already told you or narrated for you the story of Miswar ibn Makhrama radiyallahu anhu with Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan radiyallahu anhum ajma'in. And I did also mention last week about the meaning of al-nasiha, and we said this is from al-nasiha, yani to refrain from making dua against them and to make dua for them is from al-nasiha, which is dutiful to the Muslim leader. Rasulullah ﷺ said, الدين النصيحة. قلنا لمن يا رسول الله؟ قال لله ولرسوله ولكتابه ولأئمة المسلمين وعامتهم. And we explained last week, those who weren't with us can reference last episode, those who we did talk about what it means النصيحة لولاة الأمر, and we said from it is to leave rebelling against them and to make people love and like the Muslim leader and to pray for him, right? And not to actually publicly criticize them or to rebel, leave alone rebelling against them. طيب. And this is, like I said, this is the sunnah of all the righteous generations, and it is the opinion of all the scholars of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. As a matter of fact, so many of our scholars, including Al-Fudayl ibn Iyad and Imam Ahmad, rahimahumullah ta'ala jami'an, they all said, if we know that we have a da'wah mustajab, you know what is da'wah mustajaba? The dua al-mustajab. They used to say, لو كان لنا دعوة مستجابة. If we know that we have one dua that we can make, and we know that it will be answered for a fact, لَجَعَلْتُهَا فِي السُّلْطَانِ. I will make it for the Muslim leader. Imagine, not for himself. Subhanallah al-Azim. Yani one of us, if you know, brothers and sisters, by Allah I ask you now, if you know that Allah Azza wa Jal grants you one wish, that He will answer the dua that you make. You have one dua that you make, that Allah Azza wa Jal will answer. By Allah, won't we all make dua for ourselves? Imam Ahmad and Al-Fudayl ibn Iyad and so many others, they said if we know that we have one da'wah that Allah Azza wa Jal will answer, we will make it for the Muslim leader. Why? Because his righteousness actually applies to everybody. And if I make dua for myself, that will only be exclusive to me. and it won't benefit other people. But the dua to the Muslim leader benefits all the Muslims. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. And Imam Ahmad, we know the story of Imam Ahmad with the Khalifa of his time and how much he faced and how much he actually endured from his actually not settling down for the wrong ideology, where the wrong belief was being spread that the Quran is created. And he said, no, it's not created, and yet he did not call for the people to rebel against the Khalifa. Imam al-Barbahari, rahimahullah ta'ala, one of the Imam Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, in his book in the Aqidah called Sharh Usul al-Sunnah, commentary on or explanation of Usul al-Sunnah, he said, Min sima ahli al-bid'ah, from the characteristics of the people of innovation. Check this out. From the characteristics of ahl al-bid'ah, from the characteristics of the people of innovation, dua against the Muslim leader. Supplicating against the Muslim leader. وَمِن سِيمَا أَهْلِ السُّنَّةِ, and from the characteristics of Ahl al-Sunnah is الدُّعَاء لِوُلَاةِ الْأُمُورِ, that to supplicate for the Muslim leader. And this is exactly what Imam Abu Ja'far is saying in here. وَنَدْعُوا لَهُمْ لَا نَدْعُوا عَلَيْهِمْ. And you know the difference between the dua ala and the dua li? نَدْعُوا لِلْأَئِمَّةِ وَلَا نَدْعُوا عَلَيْهِمْ. We supplicate for them, we don't supplicate against them. So this is Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Alhamdulillah, it is crystal clear. They do not supplicate against the Muslim leader, but rather they supplicate for the Muslim leader. Supplicating against the Muslim leader is a characteristic of being deviant from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Also, from refraining from making dua to the Muslim leader. Yani somebody says, I don't supplicate against them, and I don't supplicate for them as well, either. We say you're also deviant. Because not only you're not supposed to supplicate against them, but also you're supposed to supplicate for them. You don't remain silent. You don't supplicate against them, nor do you remain silent, but rather you supplicate for them. You supplicate for their righteousness and for their mu'afa. Yani to become sin-free, to be freed from all the sin and disobedience to Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. So we pray for ourselves and we pray for our leaders to be salihin, and we pray to Allah Azza wa Jal to give them the tawfiq to do everything that is good and to make them to help them out to do that which is good. And Allah Azza wa Jal is capable of everything. If we refrain from making dua for them, are we despairing from the mercy of Allah Azza wa Jal? Can Allah Azza wa Jal make them salihin? Yes, He can. إِنَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. Allah Azza wa Jal is capable of everything, including making the leaders as good leaders. So we shouldn't refrain from supplicating for them and giving up on and despairing from the mercy of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. And this is from al-nasiha li wali al-amr. Then he said, rahimahullah ta'ala, going backward, then in statement number 160, he said, وَلَا نَنْزِعُ يَدًا مِنْ طَاعَتِهِمْ. And we do not take our hand away from obedience to them. وَلَا نَنْزِعُ يَدًا مِنْ طَاعَتِهِمْ. What he wants from here is that Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, even in the case of a leader being an oppressor or unjust, they still, no matter how much oppression and how much injustice or sinning or major sinning appears from the Muslim leader, as long as it is lesser than al-kufr, al-bawa', the crystal clear kufr that we have evidence for, as long as it is the case, we do not take our hand away from the obedience to them, nor do we rebel against them, nor do we disobey them, as long as it is in obedience to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. We do not disobey them. And he mentioned the hand. Notice he said, وَلَا نَنْزِعُ يَدًا. What is al-yad? This is al-yad, right? Hand. And we do not take our hand. Why do they mention the hand? It is always mentioned in the books. نَزْعِ الْيَدِ لَا نَنْزِعُ يَدًا مِنْ طَاعَةٍ. We do not take our hand away from allegiance, from swearing allegiance. Yani, this is after we pledge allegiance to the Muslim leader, we do not take our hand away from this allegiance. Why? Because pledging allegiance in principle is by the hand. And this is for what they call in the books of fiqh, Ahl al-Hal wal-Aqd. Ahl al-Hal wal-Aqd, these are the people of counsel. These are the scholars, these are the Muslim judges who actually select the Muslim leader. When they agree on a Muslim leader, they come and they pledge, they swear allegiance to him by hand. They say, نُبَايِعُكَ عَلَى السَّمْعِ وَالطَّاعَةِ. This is a nubaya. It is in the hand. He's saying that we do not take our hand after pledging allegiance, we do not take it away even if they oppress afterwards. And then for the general population, pledging allegiance is based on the swearing of allegiance by Ahl al-Haq wal-Hal wal-Aqd. Yani it is inconceivable that every Muslim in the country will go to the Muslim leader and shake hands, right? The Ahl al-Hal wal-Aqd, they do it on behalf of the rest of the Muslim, and the rest of the population, their bay'ah, their allegiance is based on the allegiance of this council. So we do not take it away, meaning after we pledge allegiance, we do not take our hand away from them. And this is from the characteristics of Ahl al-Khawarij. But rather, we obey them and we stay with them and we witness al-Juma' wal-Jama'at and Salat al-Eid with them. We actually witness it with them and we gather with them and we fight with them for the unification of the word of the Muslim. This is our Aqidah, and this is what Madhab Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah is. Moving quickly to statement number 161. In this statement, Imam Abu Ja'far is saying, وَنَرَى طَاعَتَهُمْ مِنْ طَاعَةِ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. Alhamdulillah. وَنَرَى طَاعَتَهُمْ مِنْ طَاعَةِ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ فَرِيضَةً مَا لَمْ يَأْمُرُوا بِمَعْصِيَةٍ. And we hold that obedience to them is part of obedience to Allah the Mighty and the Majestic, and an obligation, faridah. You know what the fard, brothers and sisters, is, right? Faridah, the fard. You say this salah is faridah. Al-Hajj once in a lifetime is a faridah. Siyam Ramadan is a faridah. Giving the zakat is a faridah. Ta'at wali al-amr is a faridah. And an obligation as long as they do not command with something that is sinful, and obviously this is something that we've already talked about, that لا طاعة في معصية. Yani there is no obedience to anybody if it is a disobedience to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. So obedience to a wali al-amr, to the Muslim leader, is not an unconditional obedience. It is a conditional obedience. Yani we obey them on the condition if they order us to do that which is in obedience to Allah Azza wa Jal. Should they order us to disobey Allah Azza wa Jal, we disobey them in that particular matter. But doesn't mean we disobey them absolutely in everything. We obey them elsewhere. But in these matters that they order us, which is disobedience to Allah Azza wa Jal, we disobey them that because مَا لَمْ يَأْمُرُوا بِمَعْصِيَةٍ, as long as they do not command with a sinful thing. So this obedience to Wali al-Amr is a conditional obedience, and obeying them is an obedience to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Like Allah Azza wa Jal says in the ayah, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ. So obey. Allah Azza wa Jal is ordering us to obey them. That means obeying them is in obedience to who? To Allah. Because He is the one who ordered us to obey them. So we say, Ya Allah, sam'an wa ta'a. We obey them because Allah Azza wa Jal ordered us to do. Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu. That is me and you. Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu. أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم. The ayah on the screen. So we obey them because this is out of obedience to Allah Azza wa Jal, and it is a fard upon us because Allah Azza wa Jal ordered us to do that. Ordered us to do that. 162, we've already covered it. Now, Imam Abu Ja'far switches to another topic, but I want to open the door for questions and answers before we do that. you're going to have to raise your voice or come closer, brother. Barakallah. Alaykum as-salam wa rahmatullah. Yes. He was here a moment. Where did he run? Subhanallah. Okay. I'm sorry, what?
This question is above my pay grade, but I will just ask.
Sorry.
Yeah. What is taboo? Can the constitution of any country that we follow be considered as taboo? Can pledging allegiance to constitute a constitution of a different country can it be considered as shirk?
Let me answer this question separately with him, privately, inshallah. طيب. Any other question? تفضل. يلا عبد الله, some exercise. في بالك.
First question is two quick questions. Is there a hadith I heard on early days of Islam when Umar ibn Khattab said to Rasulullah, "Are you the truth?" And they made two lines. They went to the Kaaba. So some people that protest, they use this as an evidence to protest. I don't know if it's the authentic hadith. And the second question is, even for the leader, if they physically harm anyone in your family, maybe killed, you still should dua for them, islah.
طيب. So if I understand correctly, the first question is about a hadith where Abu Bakr or Umar or Rasulullah sallallahu he made a line in the sand or something?
No, Umar told Rasulullah that since we're on the truth, we should go and protest Quraysh.
Okay. So I'm not sure about that hadith. The only hadith that I know is where Rasulullah sallallahu one day the Sahaba was surrounded by the Sahaba and he made a straight line on the sand, and then he made some lines from right and left of that straight line, and he said the straight line is the path of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, Sirat al-Mustaqim, and these are pathways to Jahannam, which is deviation from the deen. I'm not sure. I will research it, inshallah, and get back to you on that. The second question, remind me about what I think.
Even if the leader physically harmed your direct family, or always make dua for him, islah for the leader.
To answer that, Imam Ahmad, he himself was hurt by a Khalifa. Not somebody from his family, but he himself. He was actually tortured, like real torture. You don't want to imagine what he was tortured with. He was tortured so mercilessly. And he was beaten. And Imam Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah ta'ala, by the way, as well, before him, he was also imprisoned by the Khalifa at the time, Khalifa al-Abbasi, at the time of Imam Abu Hanifa, because they accused him. Some people actually, they spread rumors against the Imam Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah ta'ala, and they accused him to the leader that he supported some of the revolts that happened during his time. They said he supported them, although he didn't come up publicly with them, and that was a lie. So he was brought to the court of the Khalifa. He was asked a few questions, and he was asked to actually become the judge, and he, or one of the judges, and he refused. So they imprisoned him until he died, rahimahullah ta'ala. And he was tortured as well. So here are ai who were tortured themselves, and yet still they never made dua against the leader, they never supplicated against them, but rather they always supplicated to him to be righteous. Yani, this is what we should understand. People who cannot imagine making dua for the Muslim leader, even if they oppress them, you're only making dua for him to become righteous, and that is for the benefit of the population. You're not making dua for his person, just for him. His salah is salah for the ummah. So you're making, because this is a benefit that benefits everybody. So they are our role model, rahimahullah ta'ala, and they set the course that we should all be upon. I hope that answers your question. Any other questions? No? Right. Moving forward, then he said, and Imam Abu Ja'far in the statement, wrong button, number 163, he said, وَنَتَّبِعُ السُنَّةَ وَالْجَمَاعَةَ وَنَجْتَنِبُ الشُّذُوذَ وَالْخِلَافَ وَالْفُرْقَةَ. And we follow the sunnah and the jama'ah. And we avoid separation, disputation, and splitting. This is also one of the most important statements in this Aqidah, brothers and sisters. This is actually one of the most important principles, if not the most important principles of the principles of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. You notice the timing of this statement. He timed it, meaning in the order. Like he ordered it right after he talked about what? About al-khuruj against A'immat al-Muslimin, right? And then before that, I hope you still remember that he talked about the impermissibility of killing the Muslim, or a group going out against the Ummah and start fighting them and fighting the rest of the Ummah, or killing the rest of the Ummah, right? وَلَا نَرَى السَّيْفِ. Remember, he said, وَلَا نَرَى السَّيْفِ. وَلَا نَرَى الْخُرُوجِ. And we do not see rebelling against the Muslim leader. You notice that he timed it after these sections, right? And it couldn't be better. It couldn't be a better timing. Why? Because all of these sections, they imply sticking and adhering to Sunnah and Al-Jama'ah. When it is impermissible to go against the Ummah by fighting and by the sword and killing the Muslim. That gives you what? Jama'ah, to actually be united. When we do not see rebelling against the Muslim leader, that gives what? Jama'ah. And wahdat al-kalima, and the unification and the united word of the Muslim Ummah, to actually be united, to be on one word, to be on one heart. So you see that this is actually couldn't be a better timing to actually mention this right after these sections. And as a matter of fact, brothers and sisters, all of this Aqidah, all of the matters of this Aqidah, right, from the beginning until the end, is actually based on this statement. All of the understandings and all the commentary that we've made so far, and we're going to make upon the remaining statements of this Aqidah, all of this understanding and all of this Aqidah is what? Is based on the understanding of Sunnah and on Al-Jama'ah, which is what the Muslims have agreed upon the understanding, upon the meaning, right? All of these matters of i'tiqad, where did we get these from? Because this is what Jama'at al-Muslimin agreed upon as a meaning, as a matters of Aqidah. And it is also according to the Sunnah that we received from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. All of this Aqidah is upon this. And this is why we say that ittiba' Sunnah and al-Jama'ah is one of the greatest principles. This is what we've been doing. You remember, a lot of statements of this Aqidah, some people deviated from the meaning that we mentioned. Don't you remember that? We said some groups, they actually were with this opinion. They actually saw this, which is in contrast to Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. Right? What gives us this confidence level that this is the meaning that we should believe in is because this is what Jama'at al-Muslim, this is what the Muslim ijtama'u. They had a consensus upon that. This is the true understanding. And this is the true matters of believing Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. So all of these matters of Aqidah that Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah and A'immat al-Islam and the scholars of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah that they've penned down in their books is nothing but ittiba' al-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Ittiba' al-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And he is saying in here, وَنَتَّبِعُ السُّنَّةَ wal Jama'ah. And every deviant group and every deviant belief is but a deviation from Sunnah and the Jama'ah. The understanding of Jama'at al-Muslimin and the understanding of that which is pointed to by Kitab and Sunnah that the A'immat al-Islam have actually agreed upon in their books. And any of that is from al-Shudud and al-Khilaf and al-Furqah. Any deviant belief is from the separation from this Jama'at al-Muslimin and disputation and splitting from their way of understanding. And this is something that is very important to understand that, and if you notice, on every statement that we've explained and commented on. Did I ever, or did we ever, let me put it this way, did we ever give a commentary on the statement without proofs from the Quran and from the Sunnah? Never. I hope I didn't. And every statement that we've explained and gave how we should understand it and believe in it, it was always accompanied by text from the Quran and from the Sunnah and from the sayings of the scholars of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Isn't that the right? That why? Because we نتبع السنة والجماعة. This is from اتباع أهل السنة والجماعة and اتباع السنة والجماعة. And we do not dispute and we do not split from their understanding. This اتباع, brothers and sisters, that he is mentioning in here, نتبع يعني اتباع. This اتباع السنة والجماعة, and to avoid separation and disputation and splitting. And by the way, you notice in this statement, he gathered two things. He combined between al-ittiba' and al-ijtinab. Because as we always say, if you want to understand something, if you want to understand the tawheed completely and perfectly, you have to understand what it is and what it is not. And what it is not. What contradicts it. If you only understand what it is, you may fall into what it's not and you don't know without realizing it. So you need to know what it is and what is the opposite of it. Like here also. نتبع, we follow, we should also understand what we should avoid, otherwise we may fall into it without knowing, and it is not from al-ittiba'. So you notice, to fully understand al-ittiba', it is actually to follow and avoid other things. These are separation and disputation and splitting. And this ittiba', sunnah and al-jama'ah, and avoiding the separation and disputation and splitting brothers and sisters, is exactly to actually follow along what the first jama'ah was upon. Yani this ittiba' of al-sunnah and al-jama'ah is ittiba' of what in reality? It is following in reality, following the first jama'ah, which is Sahabatu Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and whoever followed them bi ihsan. This is what it is in reality. Following the Sunnah and the Jama'ah is following the first Jama'ah, because Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he taught this first Jama'ah that he left behind. He spent those 23 years teaching and forming this first Jama'ah, which is the Sahaba, the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He taught them. And he gave them the ilm, the beneficial knowledge, and the true understanding, the correct understanding of the deen. And they inherited this great heritage from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which is this ilm, right? And practice, al-amal, how you should act upon it. They inherited from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and from the guidance, and from the practice, and from the understanding of the matters of the deen, whether be it the unseen or the matters of practice, al-amal, like al-salawat, like al-ibadat, like al-mu'amalat, etc., etc. This is what they inherited from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And this is what he left them with. So this is the first jama'ah. And this is what we follow. We follow sunnah and al-jama'ah. So, Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, and this first jama'ah, which is actually the origin of al-jama'ah, this first jama'ah of Sahaba, they agreed, they had a consensus on the matters of the unseen and on the matters of Tawheed and on the matters of Aqidah. They had absolute consensus on that. Ijma'. And they also had a consensus on the vast majority of what we call in the Arabic language al-masail al-amaliyah, yani the ibadat and the mu'amalat, which we call today is al-fiqh. They only had a difference of opinion in selected matters, few and handful ones. Some people try to make it more than that. It is only a handful and a few minor differences in the matters of al-fiqh that we call today. But in the vast majority of the matters, they had a consensus, an agreement on that. This first jama'ah, which is the companions, the jama'ah of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and who came after them from al-tabi'een and tabi' al-tabi'een, and those who followed them bi ihsan, right? This is the Sabil al-Mu'mineen, the true path and the true understanding of the deen that Allah Azza wa Jalla refers to. Sabil al-Mu'mineen. This is the way of the Mu'mineen that we should be upon. A lot of people deviated from these understandings. We say, but this is not the understanding of the first Jama'ah, and this is not Sabil al-Mu'mineen that Allah Azza wa Jalla told us about. Sabil al-Mu'mineen is the way of this first Jama'ah that we also inherited from them. So we see that this is a great principle. As a matter of fact, one of the greatest principles of the deen, because how can we understand the deen except upon the understanding of this first Jama'ah, and that reach us through inheritance from one generation to the next. Every generation hands it down to the next generation. And this is the importance of this ilm to teaching, and this is what we're doing here. We're teaching, we're handing it over to our young children, and they will do the same thing to their children, etc., etc. One generation down to the next generation. So all of this understanding is the understanding of the first Jama'ah. And this is what became as a title. Yani when we say, and you've seen me refer to this title a lot, Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah, right? This title is in reference to the understanding, to the set of understandings of this first Jama'ah. Yani their understanding with respect to the different matters of the deen, specifically of the Aqidah in this case, is the understanding of this first Jama'ah. And al-ittiba' is in reality ittiba' lis-sahaba, the companions of Rasulullah ﷺ and the first Jama'ah and the righteous predecessors who came afterward. And this is why they were called Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, based on these two foundations and these two principles, the Sunnah and the Jama'ah. Sunnah and al-Jama'ah. So we have al-Sunnah and we have al-Jama'ah. And this is something that we're going to be talking about. So when we say we follow Sabil al-Mu'mineen, it is actually following the Sunnah and following al-Jama'ah. Jama'at al-Muslimin. Where did they get this from? Why are we supposed to do that? Why is somebody during the 21st century coming up with his own understanding? Why we say we don't care about your understanding? That's not Sabil al-Mu'mineen. And this is not Ittiba' al-Sunnah wal-Jama'ah, if they did not mention it. We say that there is a tremendous and there is an overwhelming evidence to this from the Book of Allah Azza wa Jal and from the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, right? More than we can actually count in these majalis. More than we can count. They are so overwhelming, right? The text that from the Book of Allah Azza wa Jal and from the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that orders to ijtima', right? And that forbid splitting and disputing with respect to the matters of the deen, whether explicitly saying that or whether in meaning, yani it implies that, are so many. Including, for example, قول الله تبارك وتعالى in the ayah of Surah Al-Imran, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. لَا تَفَرَّقُوا. And hold fast, all of you together, to the rope of Allah, and be not divided among yourselves. Yani it couldn't be more explicit. اعتصموا, يعني it is a guidance to الاجتماع around the rope of Allah Azza wa Jalla, which is the Quran and the Sunnah. Which understanding? Of the first Jama'ah. This is Sabil al-Mu'mineen. So, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Do not split or do not be divided among yourselves. Also from it is قوله تبارك وتعالى أن أقيموا الدين ولا تتفرقوا فيه. He has ordained for you the same religion which He ordained for Nuh, and that which He have inspired to you, يعني Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and that which He ordained for Ibrahim and Musa and Isa, saying what? Saying you should establish religion and make no divisions in it. Do not split and do not dispute in it. Another indication of this is for what Allah Azza wa Jal says in the ayah of Surah Al-Nisa, وَمَنْ يُشَاقِقِ الرَّسُولَ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا تَبَيَّنَ لَهُ الْهُدَى وَيَتَّبِعْ غَيْرَ سَبِيلِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ سَبِيلِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ نُوَلِّهِ مَا تَوَلَّى وَنُصْلِهِ جَهَنَّمْ وَسَاءَتْ مَصِيرًا. And whoever contradicts and opposes the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam after the right path has been shown clearly to him and follows other than the believer's way, Sabil al-Mu'mineen. It follows other than the believer's way. What is Sabil al-Mu'mineen? It is the way of the first Jama'ah. Jama'at al-Sahaba. Who understood, who took the understanding immediately, directly from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Whoever deviates from that, we shall keep him in the path he has chosen and burn him in hell and an evil destination. So you see what the dire consequences of deviating from that understanding. From it as well is قوله تعالى قل أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول فإن تولوا فإنما عليه ما حمل وعليكم ما حملتم. So obey Allah and obey the messenger, but if you turn away, and if the people turn away, he is only responsible for the duty placed on him. What is the duty placed on Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? To preach. The duty that he was tasked with, عليه ما حمل. What is what حمل? ما حمل Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? What he was tasked with is to preach the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal and to preach Tawheed and to convey this to people. وَعَلَيْكُمْ مَا حُمِّلْتُمْ. And upon you and you for that was placed on you. What is placed on us? الاتباع. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his duty is to convey, and our duty is to obey and follow. اتباع السنة and the Jama'ah. So what is upon us, or what is placed upon us, is to follow what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam conveyed to us, and his task is to convey to us. And from it also is what Allah Azza wa Jal says, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي اتِّبَاعًا فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهُ وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ. Say, Ya Muhammad, to mankind, if you truly love Allah, then follow me. Obedience and following, ittiba'. Allah will love you and forgive you your sins, and Allah is oft forgiving and most merciful. So you see the text and the proofs and the evidence explicitly saying or implicitly in meaning that order us to ittiba', to follow Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and the understanding of the first Jama'ah. I want to finish this by the last hadith. There is a famous hadith, I don't know if you heard of it. It is, as a matter of fact, it came to be known among the scholars by hadith al-iftiraq. Iftiraq al-ummah, the splitting of the ummah. Hadith al-iftiraq. Which, guess what, is related by or narrated by Amir al-Mu'mineen Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan radiyallahu anhu. عن معاوية ابن أبي سفيان قام رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فينا فقال ألا إن من قبلكم من أهل الكتاب افترقوا افتراق على 72 ملة وإن هذه الملة ستفترق على 73 72 في النار وواحدة في الجنة. The apostle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he stood among us. This is Muawiyah is narrating. He said, stood among us and said, beware, O people, beware. The people of the book before were split up into 72 sects. And this millah will be split into 73 sects. 72 of them will go to hell. And one of them will go to paradise. So the Sahaba wanted to know which one is that. We want to be among the saved. So they said, وَمَنْ هِيَ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ? Which one it is? This one that one ummah, that one group that will be saved. He sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, هِيَ الْجَمَاعَةِ. هِيَ الْجَمَاعَةِ. He said it is the Jama'at al-Muslimin. And another, what clarifies what it is, like what is this Jama'ah? Because some people may actually explain it differently. What clarifies it is the other narration of this hadith, which is also narrated by Imam al-Bukhari and Imam al-Tirmidhi. In another narration, he said, وَتَفْتَرِقُ أُمَّتِي عَلَى 73 مِلَّةٍ كُلُّهُمْ فِي النَّارِ إِلَّا مِلَّةً واحدة. My ummah will split into 73 sects, all of them in the fire except one sect. So they said, وَمَنْ هِيَ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ? Which one is it, Ya Rasulullah? He said, مَا أَنَا عَلَيْهِ وَأَصْحَابِي. He said, what I am upon and my companions. So this explains the other narration. He said, al-Jama'ah. So what is al-Jama'ah? Al-Jama'ah is what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and the companions were upon. This explains al-Jama'ah. So Jama'ah al-Ula, Sabil al-Mu'mineen, is the understanding that we should follow. And this is what we've been doing across all of this Aqidah Mubarakah, Aqidah al-Imam Abu Ja'far At-Tahawiyyah. So their understanding is the understanding that we should have, and their way is the way that we should follow in their footsteps. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those who follow Sabil al-Mu'mineen, Sabil al-Muttaqeen, Sabil al-Jama'ah al-Ula, the way of the first Jama'ah. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to understand or to have the right understanding. إِنَّهُ وَلِيُّ ذَلِكَ وَالْقَادِرُ عَلَيْهِ وَصَلَّى اللَّهُ وَسَلَّمَ وَبَارَكَ عَلَى نَبِيِّنَا مُحَمَّدٍ. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله يبارك.
Allah